Redman is in the building, of course. Jersey's finest, all about them bars, marijuana smoker. Hey, PSA announcement. I need everybody go support. That's right, support my fucking state, my city. Heritage Hip Hop, a New Jersey media source that celebrates New Jersey hip hop worldwide. Facts. And we are celebrating our legends right here, Jersey, baby. Please subscribe to Heritage Hip Hop on social media. That is Heritage Hip Hop on social media. Jersey, you know I love you. Jersey, you know we got bars and we got music and we got legends all day. And if you believe in Jersey and you love Jersey like I do, support that Heritage Hip Hop on all social media platforms. This is Redman and I approve this message.
Yo, peace and blessings to everybody out there. Welcome back to the Heritage Hip Hop Podcast, where we introduce you to your future favorite artists today while celebrating the people that made this hip hop culture great. That means you too. Before we get into everything's festivities, please subscribe to heritagehiphop.com. Follow us on YouTube. When you're on YouTube, hit the like button, comment, subscribe, share. If you want to help us build this platform, Cash App Heritage Hip Hop. You can go to our Heritage Hip Hop site to get merch. 420 is coming up. You want some of that 420 merch? You want to support Heritage Hip Hop? Go to heritagehiphop.com. Today we have a special guest for you. See, whenever we talk about Jersey hip hop, right? People talk about Redman, Tretch, Lords of the Underground, Lauryn Hill, Rod Digger. Salute to all of them, right? Because we need to talk about them. But there are other faces in New Jersey hip hop that have movements that not only are changing the world, but showing the world that if you think New Jersey is about being one type of way, we call it dirty Jersey, but they think New Jersey doesn't have flavor. New Jersey doesn't have morality. They don't think that New Jersey can stand on the front line and support this hip hop the way it's supposed to be supported, featured, represented. We got somebody here tonight that you should know. And if you don't, it is our pleasure to bring him back to the platform to get you to understand what hip hop is when it's accountable, moral, and barred up. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Nucci Reyo. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me.
Hey, man, it's always a pleasure to talk to you because you are one of the few MCs that I met that have my respect level very high.
Oh, man, I appreciate that.
And people know I'm very picky, but even though I don't like everything, when I do give somebody that stamp of approval from me, they know it means something. So yeah. I want to ask you, it's been a while since you've been on the platform. Just reintroduce yourself to the people who may not know who you are.
No doubt. Of course, Jersey artist referred to as a legend, just born and raised in Jersey. I'm from Rahway. I was signed to MCA Records. Then I was signed to DJ Absolute over at Addicted for Life. Before that, the Union label. And so just been putting it down for a long time. Multi-platinum ghostwriter, things of that nature. A lot of hits over the years. And so, we still here. Left the secular side, left the major label, went indie, and, was able to keep it pushing. You know what I mean? Been in all the publications, on all the channels, on all the radio stations, throughout the tri-state and the states abroad. And, you know what I mean? Just still here pushing, just trying to be a positive force.
Well, the one thing I will give you credit for is you don't try to be a positive force. You are a positive force.
I appreciate that.
Salute to you for that. So everybody who is not used to heritage hip hop, let me catch them up with who I am. I do not talk about hot topics or talk about things that are relevant to the culture. So my podcast interviews are not about who got the fattest butt or Kanye versus whatever. No, we're going to talk to the artists about the art, the culture, and most importantly, where we stand within the culture. So everybody on Facebook, join us on YouTube. You can leave a comment on there if you would like. But come on, join us on YouTube. Everybody on Instagram, thank you for watching. Shout out to my Instagram family. I see the numbers. Make sure you go to YouTube and add in. And everybody who has questions, your questions will be added into at the end of this interview when we do the rapid fire questions. Now let's get to business. Mr. Reyo, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
We live in a time where hip hop has become the #1 genre of music and the #1 lifestyle across the world of people who share in music culture. With the world changing, what is hip hop's responsibility to address the change in society with it?
Well, you know what? That's very interesting. So I have a book that I'm coming out with in September called The Music Factor. And in that book, there's a chapter. So the whole book is about how hip hop affected all the communities worldwide. And hip hop's effect on everything from fashion to everything involving the streets, right? And so I have a chapter called The Coolest Culture. And it just talks about how influential it is and how we kind of set the trends across the board with everything, right? Hip hop could sell everything from drinks to, clothes. And so I think the responsibility, which is one we probably didn't ask for, probably weren't ready for, it's almost like becoming a parent, right? And it comes with so much that there's no real handbook for it. There's no manual, but everything has to be addressed, right? And so I think the biggest thing with what you're saying is it art imitating life or life imitating art, right? So, as reporters and poets of the time, which the music, and so I have another chapter in that book that talks about every music movement, the hippie era, before that, the Chitlin Circuit type era, the different hip hop eras and what they meant and formed and stood for, from the Public Enemies being political and etc. Now, you have people that are just going to entertain. And if that's their calling, just to entertain, we can't expect that from them, right? We probably wouldn't expect like a Biz Markie, for example, to address these kind of things. We expect it from a Chuck D. So I think it's just about being true to your calling. I don't think the culture at large has a responsibility. The faces of the culture will have those who step up to show that responsibility. And that's just how it has to be. There's always, unfortunately, going to be balance. And I say unfortunate because I don't see the need for where it's at now, which is hip hop is more murderous than it's ever been regarding the music, right? When you listen to the music, all of it, all of the hit songs, everything on the charts, everything on the top iTunes charts, radio charts, it's all murderous. And so I don't think it's necessary. People think that's good, and then we need, the positive stuff too. No, I think it could be all positive like it was when it started, right? We got to remember being true to the culture and how they started it and what they had in mind. You don't really have a right to hijack something. And not only did people from the outside hijack, the people from the inside became agents of hijack. And so I don't think the negativity is necessary at all. I think you can speak on it and even highlight it in a positive way. But I think people have harnessed the negativity, and I even did so in the past. So I understand the pressure and I understand the different phases of life, but I don't think it's necessary. So beyond addressing those things, I think we need forefathers, and maybe even a board, if you will, to kind of even say what is hip hop, what isn't, what is permissible, which isn't. We're the only culture that you're able to infiltrate in that way. You try that with rock and roll. You try that with jazz and see what, come out with a violent jazz record and see what happens. You see what I'm saying? So we're the only ones that have no rules, and I think the freedom has worked against us.
That's a very interesting. You said a lot in a little while.
Yeah,
Because
I rambled.
no, that was great because I want a copy of that book autographed too, and I'll put a review of it on the website.
Coming out of September.
All right, y'all make sure y'all go to heritagehiphop.com so I can see that review.
Yes, sir.
But even from hip hop's inception, peace, love, unity, and having fun, to then go on to some rappers is heaven sent, but self-destruction, don't pay the effing rent, to then we gonna be all right, right? We gonna be all right. It seems like hip hop has always had a positive tone, but the hijackers told people by dangling the carrot of poverty and money over their heads. It seems like they told the people, you must make this or you won't sell. Look at the impact of a KRS-One. Too old for y'all? Okay. Let's look at the impact of a Nas. Too old for y'all? Okay. Look at the impact of a Kendrick Lamar and the tribalism of the West Coast. Music has always been the symbol of hope and always been the identification of society at large with the lyrics, the message, and the frustration of the people. Yes, we can be positive, but how do we accentuate the positive But so many people harbor down on the negative and uphold that like that is our representation.
Well, I want to say this. I don't know that any actual meeting or conversation has ever happened between an executive and an artist where they've been forced down a negative road. I think because of the budgets behind music, we've seen everything sell. They decide what they want to sell, but it's not that it's the only thing that sells. Now, of course, right, we're dealing with a fallen world. So negativity is easier to sell, right? Sex sells. If a person likes something, they tell one person. They hate something, they tell 10 people. Your haters give you 100 views. Your fans watch twice. Negativity is a thing that is just unfortunately inside of everybody, and so it's easy to hone into. It's the low hanging fruit. But I won't say that they force you. I've been on a major label. They don't force the negativity. You just know it's the low hanging fruit, right? So it's easier for me to do a strip club record than it is to do a Unity, because a UNITY. So I think it's more about the powers that be just deciding what to sell. It's almost like the sneaker store. If it's the only sneaker store in town, you're buying whatever's there, right? You need some sneakers. That's what you get to choose from. They just are deciding what we get to choose from. If it was all positive, they would go for it. If it's all negative, they go for it. The people are just going with whatever's being supplied to them.
I agree, and I come to you with this as a turning point. But if the powers that be, or the labels, or the ones in charge, don't take that positivity and put the money behind it to make it sell, how will people who don't look for the culture, they just look at the culture,
Yeah,
get a clear lens of what the culture is? Like for
they
instance,
don't. They don't.
but all right, for instance, there was a young lady. Everybody talks about Sexy Red. Everybody talks about Glorilla, and I don't put those ladies down. That's their art. They have a right to be artists. Whether you call it hip hop or not, that's their thing, right? But my beef is, let's say, just say for people like me, the podcasters, people will always say this trash, the women are trash, the agents, they're trash, but no one will hold up that person who's dope that doesn't sound like them. There was a young lady that had a rhyme called Fiji. Her name was Yawn Like a Snob. Her whole thing was about alkaline water and being clean. Dope song. I ain't hear it nowhere. We have great females like Ty Phoenix out right now. Dope female. Talks about chakras and everything. Nobody's putting that message out. Then we have people that say hip hop's all about drug use and killing, but then we have Nucci Reyo. And who's putting Nucci Reyo out there? No one's putting them out enough. So I'm getting to a point where I don't want to blame the labels. I want to blame the media, because it's the media's job to break people like you who great music, and no one's talking about it. What do you say to that?
Well, because the big media is connected right to the major labels, right? So that's the big media, right? And then the other media, hey, they gotta sell tickets, views, clicks. They're gonna go with whatever the big guys are pushing because it's popular, and it's such a fight to try to create something new, right? Only way to beat a system is to create a new one, and nobody really wants to spearhead that. You have to have a lot of money and time behind you to spearhead that. And so, yeah, I would say they're the blame, but I would attack it at an even quote unquote lower level, which is I would say the artists. If it didn't exist, right? Like when you send sessions over to get them mixed and mastered, they would say to me, "Listen, anything you don't want on that song, don't have it on the track at all. It might end up on the song if it's recorded and it's one of the tracks." So if they don't have the negativity to promote, it won't be promoted. I think the mentorship should happen on that level, and the media would have nothing negative to promote in that way. And then the fans, the consumers, have a responsibility not to respond to the nonsense. Place a higher bar. Say, nah, we're not listening to that. Because really, the people behind it, all they care about is money. If positivity sells, they'll sell it. If negativity sells, they'll sell it. If something in the middle sells, they'll sell it. They could care less. They don't really have a real dog in the fight. It's all about money to them. And once again, negativity is easier because people are inherently, naturally negative.
Hip hop started an agreed date of August 10th, 1973, in Cool
Mm-hmm.
Herc's basement, so people
Yes,
say.
sir.
But hip hop predates that date. To me, the
Yeah.
first mixtape hip hop type album I've ever heard, and I could be wrong if there's something that came before it, was Marvin Gaye "What's Going On" album, right?
Yeah.
And when Marvin Gaye wanted to make that album, Berry Gordy told him, "No, we're not making that album. It's a bad idea." But he fought to put something positive out so the people would have music to
Yeah.
stand by. And look what it did. Not only
Yeah.
did it change soul and R&B, it changed pop, which came later, and then it influenced hip hop. With the
Yeah.
sequel to the album being Public Enemies, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, right?
Yeah.
And we came from a time when all hip hop artists had at least one positive song to
Yep.
go to be a olive branch.
Yeah.
Today, though, we have artists bringing what you're saying back to the forefront, as in you, as in D1, as in the veteran artists who have come out of the game, like Billy Danze. Billy Danze at MOP said, look, MOP has put a lot of gunplay out, but there's going to be a time where we got to put the guns down and really start mentoring these young men into seeing what's there and not bring gun bars everywhere. Because sometimes you could be just as dope, if not better, being a rapper that doesn't bring gun bars and just talks real life, but you give it in a clever way. Back to what we said, though, we're at a time where hip hop has been so suppressed that you now have to find the music instead
Yeah.
of just focus on what's been given. Do you think playlist culture played a part in us losing the music
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
having
Because because that's what radio is, right? Radio's a playlist, and now the streaming services are playlists. I also think a lot of the conscious music, while they're nice to other people who are just nice and thinking about lyricism and who like that, I'm gonna go to say something controversial, which is I don't think it has a lot of replay value. I think one of the greatest positive records, a lot that Tribe did, but is Queen Latifah, UNITY, because it also has playback value. A lot of times when people come with a conscious message, it's not done dope enough to sell, to do 100 billion streams. It is in a certain way that's just not really that great if we're honest. And so I think that's why artists like me have a responsibility to put those real budgets together and push real hard and push it up the charts, because I am one of those artists gifted enough to ride that thin line where it is a message, but it is just downright dope. And it's not a lot of cats like that. It's a lot of Christian rappers that have that kind of heat. That don't get the light outside of that world and outside of the church tour run, that have the lyricism and etc. But even a lot of them, I tell them, and I'm like, it's dope, but it doesn't have a lot of replay value. For other rappers, will listen, but outside of that, the average person is not listening for tricky rhyme schemes. They're just not. They don't want to hear it. So of course a Sexy Red or whoever else appeals to them more because they can understand them. They don't need a thesaurus to listen. They don't need a dictionary to listen to them. It's not over their head, and it has better replay value. It's something you can listen to every day. You know what I mean? And so I think artists that want to be conscious and positive need to step their poetry up and be more dope rather than just dope for what you are. Be all around dope. Be able to rival that music. Make something that knocks the same way all this stuff out the South comes on a Lil Baby or the Baby record knocks. Something that knocks the same, but it does have a dope message, and it's not, a preachy in a boring way, or it doesn't feel like class. Nobody likes class, right? There's a lot of people who do like learning, but people don't necessarily love class. They can't wait to get out of class. So I don't want to hear a song, and that's all I listen to is positive music 99% of the time. Any other time, I'm just listening for the production to see what's current. You know what I mean? I don't enjoy the nonsense at all as an entertainment level, but a lot of the positive stuff just really ain't that good. Yeah, they good lyricists and they're not trash, but it just doesn't have replay value. So if we really want to change it, we got to step our game up. Self-destruction had replay value. Same Gang had replay value. Just a Friend, a lot of these records that wouldn't kill your soul and spirit and pollution neighborhood, they had dope replay value. You know what I mean? So if you ask me, I say step it up. I take that challenge on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got to the point of the interview where he said something so provocative. I want to stay on that subject just a little longer. This is Let's Build on the Heritage Hip Hop Podcast with Nucci Reyo. You said replay value. No, I'm going to say it for you. A lot of y'all people out there that make Christian positive music are garbage. Y'all trash. He's being nice. I'm not going to be nice. I'm going to be honest. Very honest. One thing that people don't respect is the power of musicality, which is the beat. Sometimes the beat has to draw you in, so the words have more power.
Yeah.
And there's people who are so overly lyrical that they either punch in the beat and we don't listen to the beat and we're trying to catch up to what they say, or what they're saying isn't good enough and the music's either boring or the music is I'm gonna just say subpar. It's trash, yo.
There you go.
Sanitation. I'll say it's
And
sanitation.
redundant too. Very redundant. Like you listen to one of my albums, people know what my message is, but no two songs sound the same. And I'm touching on everything. Perspective wise, I'm touching on everything. You know, it's like your preacher who we know you're going to talk about Moses. We know you're going to talk about David. We know you're going to talk about Abraham. It's boring. You know what I mean? It's like, what else? You know, and so my thing is kind of to show people my perspective from every angle in the ring. You know what I mean? Rather than the same sermon over and over again for 12 songs. You know what I mean? We get it. You used to be this, that, the third, and I'm not diminishing anybody's testimony. The word says we saved by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. I get it, and that's powerful. I take nothing from it. But hearing it over and over again, right? On one record, I got it. You telling us 12 different times, I used to be this and now I'm that. I used to be this and now I'm that. And most of them, let's just be honest, for the most part, don't come from too much of a lascivious past anyway. We all sinners, we all fell from grace, but that's the other thing. A lot of them become trash because they're just not believable. They're not believable. They're not transparent. Oh, you was getting me started. I'm just chilling. I'm relaxing. I'm at the lounge. I hope this cigar isn't gonna get you a strike. I'm just trying to chill.
Bro. We good.
You gonna get me? You gonna open the can of worms? Because I am being nice.
Yo, no, that's what I want, because we have to tell the truth, and the truth did not come to make people peaceful. The truth came to divide. So the spirit, the truth brings people to blows.
There you go.
And the facts of elevation. But I want to say something about what you said, though. Two things. I'm gonna let you finish off of the first thing, but I have another one for you. You can't say God and make the song faithful. You can't say Jesus and make the song gospel. The message has to come through not only the articulation of the word, but the point of the word. If you don't have a good hook, you can't catch ears. If you don't have meaningful lyrics, you can't catch the heart. If you don't have good music, you can't catch the soul. So what are people making? Are they making music and giving it to God, or they're making tracks and putting God on it to be called Christian?
Oh wait. See, that's the thing. A lot of my stuff, people will listen, and I'm planting seeds. They don't even know what it is till sometime they get to the end, and they like, even when I would go out to perform or minister, it would be in trenches, and people don't get it to the end where they're like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, wow. Like, because I'm speaking in parables and I'm being skillful, but I'm certified hit writer. I know how to make a song where I'm like, first of all, we're called to be fishers of men. The first thing that makes you a good fisherman is good bait. You got to know how to bait the hook. You're not a good fisherman if you don't know how to bait that hook. If every time you cast that line in, they take the bait, or the bait falls off the hook, you're not a good fisherman. So my thing is knowing how to disguise the hook. That's what bait does. Bait is disguising the hook. And so I think with my songs, that's what I do. I'm disguising the hook, and I'm planting a seed, because the word is not going to return void. And I also believe I'm planting that seed. I'm sending that out. There's gonna be a harvest from what goes out there with that music. And so I'm not looking to make it too obvious, right? I'm not handing out church flyers or tracks. I'm using good bait. And a lot of times cats listen and say, oh, wow, this is why I could get a guy like Jim Jones to say, let's do a record. Or certain cats like, yo, You know what I mean? Like Friday is on my new record that I'm doing with this company called Rat Lab, Taking Back the Lab, which is behind it, and we'll get into that later. A new record I got with Friday that's about to drop in a couple weeks. It's like, yo, Cats is willing to get with it because it's like, yo, you really cool with this methodology. You know what I mean? Where you almost don't know until it's too late. And I think that's important. We gotta be clever, more clever than our enemy.
All right, so that takes us to the second part of my question. Is the Bible an artifact of hip hop?
You know why I would say yes? Because I would say it's part of the original elements. This is why. Look at Beat Street. There's a choir in Beat Street in the finale, right? This is our heritage. Now, people get into a lot of other stuff where they say, oh, look into voodoo. That's what your ancestors was doing. Or look into this. First of all, everything our ancestors was doing wasn't right. Some of us got ancestors who was smoking crack. Some of us got ancestors who was pimps on heroin. It doesn't make it right just because it's ancestry. Our heritage is that we are made by and connected to the true and living God. Music is eternal. This is another chapter in my book. How do I know? Because only eternal things could be in heaven, right? And music's in heaven. Also, eternal things affect you without your permission. And that's what music does. So, being that the Bible is the story of the true and living God, it's our story because he created us and he created music. He created instruments. Any music that doesn't praise him and doesn't speak well of him is abuse, it's misuse. That is what music is created for. So when the Bible talks about on earth as in heaven, what is it talking about? It's talking about the praise that's going forth constantly. And so that's what we're here to do, but we're not here to do it in a corny way. I think it actually desecrates. First of all, God is an amazing creator. You know what I mean? So if you're not creative, I don't believe it's God. When I hear a song and it's not creative, I don't see where the Holy Spirit is involved because he is creative and no joke. You know what I mean? So I don't take credit for my lyricism. And I know I come off as an awesome lyricist, but it's not all me. You know what I mean? I'm a praying individual. I'm a reading individual, and it gets breathed into me. And sometimes it even amazes me when I listen back to the song, like, wow, that message really that came home. You know what I mean? And so I think the Bible is just a big part of it, and it is an artifact, and it is a part of hip hop. I think the culture is too big for God to not have been involved in the creation of it.
That was eloquently said, and I'll give you so much credit because, as y'all know, as y'all can tell by now, I'm a deep thinker. I like to study. I like class. I don't like teachers. I like the information. You know what I'm saying? But to keep it real with you, every aspect of hip hop has been shown in the Bible in many different ways. Peace, love, unity, and having fun is too easy. The
Yeah.
prophets, the apostles, the disciples, the Messiah, any book that you have that you praise God with, right? You have MCs because they speak the word, right?
There's poetry in there.
You have the DJ is the person who set the tone,
Yeah.
and what did that come with? War drums, the heart.
Yeah.
That's called the rhythm of life, which is music, right? But even when we talk about hip hop, people even put up sampling. Psalm 22 is called Ahaleth Shahar, which is called the 22nd Psalm based on the hind in the morning, which means they used the song about a deer to make the psalm to praise God, which was talk about remembering the creation and how the sun shines and how God shines on the creation. That's sampling. The reason why I ask this question is because people like to tear us apart and put us against each other,
Yeah.
not understanding that everything that makes us who we are as the salt of the earth comes from the Most High. So even when you create, because there's religions and frames of thoughts that says that music is evil because of Lucifer, but in the same New Testament, it says that Christ and the disciples sung songs and danced to the Most High, or David danced out of his clothes to the Most High's delight. So that expression and that godliness, though it has negative tones to it, also has positive power in it. And we must find the people who tell us how we're wrong and show them how we're right at the same time. Because Steve Harvey always said hip hop destroyed the black community, but it always go to his music and say, but you had a song that says, now you buy yourself a shotgun now. What's the shotgun for? It ain't for praise. It's to do harm. And we have elected people to do harm in such a way that is disgusting. It has broken up generations of people to now where, to your credit, hip hop is a young man's game, but it's not anymore. It may be a young man's game, but the 90s made it a grown man's sport.
Yeah.
Being the era that you're from and still rhyming today, getting the lines, minds with the lines of youth. My question to you to end this part of Let's Build is this. You've taken on that responsibility. You've shown people what hip hop is. You live to show what hip hop is as well. Why is your music necessary? And how can we use it to build the generations to come and not just bob our head to the music of today?
Well, first I want to say this. All of these, Bill Cosby spoke against hip hop, Steve Harvey, different ones. These guys who spoke against hip hop were mad that it was taken over and they weren't a big part in it. They don't rap. Rappers took over, they got mad. Now they want to speak against it. I've met scientists mad when I do a career day, backstage kicking it with a scientist, and they mad because everybody wants to be a rapper. Nobody wants to be a scientist anymore. All of them are just haters. Let's just be honest. Hip hop has had negativity, has had positivity. So has comedy. We're not saying comedy destroyed the black neighborhood, but look at the stuff y'all talk about. They promote racism and purport it and all kind of stuff. So it's like, but there's positive comedies too, comedians. So they gotta relax. That's number one. Number two, what makes my music necessary, number one, is the transparency and the fact that you get to take this walk with me. Where I don't care about you seeing the imperfections. I don't care about you growing with me. I don't care about, taking those steps in front of people. I don't care about judgments. I don't care about none of that. So at the end of the day, it also puts light up against darkness. I say this all the time. This is why I like doing records with negative artists, because I like showing that I could be better than them in my lane. I do it on purpose. You know what I mean? So it's like I'll put light up against dark any day of the week. And I think artists that's willing to do that is necessary. Artists that live outside of the religion of it and more inside of the relationship of it, right? People come from condemning, judgmental, legalistic churches where they're scared to do it because, first of all, if the church people judge them, they can't do a church tour run, right? So they got to appease them. So they're slaves to the machine, just like the negative artist is. So what's necessary is that I don't need none of that. I don't need their money. I don't need the church tour run. I have total freedom. And a lot of Christian artists or artists who are Christian don't have the freedom. They're slaves to the church circuit. They can't speak their mind. They can't be real. They can't be transparent. Even when they try to be, we can tell they're reaching. Like when you tell somebody's trying to make a hit record and it sounds too obvious, it's the same thing. It's not just you being you. And also, what makes it necessary is I come from the other side for real, right? A lot of these artists used to rap secular, but they never had a major record deal. They never was really in these circles. You know what I mean? Like, they never was accepted and part of it, right? They never was on Hot 97. They never was on BET. They never was in Double XL magazine. They never had features with Beanie Siegel and Kanye West and Nas and Prodigy and Havoc. You know what I'm saying? The list goes on, right? Graf, Jay Mills, you name them, J.R. Rodder. Like I was in those circles for real. And so I know what that's like. And I know what it is compared to what this is like. I tell people, I was on tour with Nas at Stillmatic. I opened up the Stillmatic tour. You see what I'm saying? And that wasn't as fulfilling, 40,000 people in the arena, as it is with 100 people in the theater who are getting that message and turning their whole life over to God. So it's about what's fulfilling. And I can tell them for real. And I could tell them money ain't everything. You got a bunch of broke Christian cats telling people how money ain't everything. Yet, first of all, they show not free. They merch not free. You know what I'm saying? I can tell you as a person who touched real paper that money ain't everything. and that what does it profit a man to gain the world but lose his soul? When the rest of them say it, I don't know if I believe it because you don't know what it's like to touch $1 million. You don't know what it's like to be in $1 billion circles. So you never even really face those temptations in that way. You know what I mean? So I think it's just so much of my journey and my story and my testimony that hits and resonates in a way that makes it really original, just automatic, effortlessly.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you like what you're hearing and seeing on the Heritage Hip Hop Podcast. We're going to take a commercial break. We're at the halfway point of this great interview. How we doing so far, bro? We cooking?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We just warming up.
This is my guy right here. I have no idea because we did this the first time and we shocked the world. Now let's shock the world again. We'll be back right after this.
Where you get your hip hop from? Yeah. What's up? This Tribal Trigger Trench in the building. You already know. Nip, naughty.
Hey, Redman is in the building, of course. Jersey's finest, all about them bars, marijuana smoker. Hey, PSA announcement. I need everybody go support. That's right, support my fucking state, my city. Heritage Hip Hop, a New Jersey media source that celebrates New Jersey hip hop worldwide. Facts. Please subscribe to Heritage Hip Hop on social media. That is Heritage Hip Hop on social media.
What up, y'all, man? It's your boy Do It All, Do Pray Kelly, right here on Heritage Hip Hop, man. Look, man, let me tell you something. Make sure you support Heritage Hip Hop, because without these brothers bringing you hip hop, we're not gonna stay informed, man, the way that we need to stay informed, man. And they're not just giving you hip hop, man. They're giving you the heritage of hip hop, right here, man. Yo, Karev, I see you. Heritage Hip Hop, man. Let's do it. It ain't nothing like Heritage Hip Hop.
I told y'all I rock to my own stuff. I don't worry about nobody else. You know what I'm saying? And for everybody out there that's watching, thank you for your eyes and your time. Hey man, if you're on Instagram, sorry, but y'all have to come to Heritage Hip Hop on YouTube to watch the rest of this interview. Now we're gonna continue. We're ahead with Nucci Reyo. We're gonna talk about the Exodus 2013 movement, and that's a very responsible and moral movement. Tell us about that and how that came about.
So, like I said, hip hop is real murderous right now with the lyrics. Exodus 2013, Sixth Commandment, thou shalt not kill. That's the message we coming with. Thou shalt not kill. And so it's not just about, once again, we talking replay value, right? It's not just a bunch of records telling people to stop killing. There's all kind of circumstances that put people in positions where they feel like this is how they got to live. So we come in with records that might tell you about the aftermath. It might approach the mother's perspective at the funeral. We might do records, talking about how the siblings feel when it happens or when somebody's in jail for murder. I got a new record with Picard Gillette from the Lifers Group, the original Lifers Group, right? He's on the record that we dropping this week, right? It's called Scared Straight, right? So that perspective is telling you what prison life is going to be like if you keep going down this road. But it's dope. It's a Jersey club record. It rocks. I sent it to one of the people on my team today. They said, I just want to dance. He said, when it came on, I started dancing before I said, wait a minute, this message is crazy, right? So it's like I had to show that homage and hit up, I call him Ridge. His rap name was original. He's going by his government now. But I said, I need you on this record because we got to start, educating and telling them, thou shalt not kill. And that's the word that we putting out there. You know what I mean? And so, look, it's going to be judgmental people that really don't get it. You know what I mean? Some people judge us because we smoke cigars. Some people judge us because we wear jewelry. We really don't care. At the end of the day, we vessels and we imperfect and we striving like the next one. And so we not sitting on a pedestal about it, but we need to stop this murderous spirit that has taken over hip hop. You know what I mean? And so thou shalt not kill. That's the movement.
We got to stop that too, because smoking a cigar is not sinful. If you look into the oracles of our past, that's what people use. People smoke cigars as a gentlemanly agreement. Yeah. It was used in feast days. So even when y'all read the word, y'all hear about the feast of dedications. Guess what? They lit up too. Don't believe me?
Well, I'm Native American, so
me too. Salute to our people. Shout out to the Niji out there. You know what I'm saying? So I want to get back to what you said. Thou shalt not kill, as if thou shalt not murder. And
Yes.
with murder being, I want to put it a different way. People worship the casket more than they honor the life that they're given.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Look at the celebration you get when you come home from jail versus the celebration you get after graduating college. Right? We've glorified the nonsense. But my thing is, you cannot pump a murderous message in your mind all day and never act on it. There's no message you could pump in your mind all day and not act on it. Look at the stats. More babies was born in the 90s during the R&B era. It was all sex music. And so you got more babies being born, right? So you got more murders and you got more murderous music. I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, but we got to do something about it. So we can't let it be hijacked by a murderous spirit like this.
I
So
agree. I agree, but that's
yeah,
happened to other forms of music too.
yeah,
Like if you think about jazz, you think about the blues, if you think about early soul music, even
yeah,
with people who don't look like us, the baby boomers. When
yep,
people start having sex in cars, the music reflected the car and people out there having,
yeah,
relations. You know what I'm saying? I
yeah.
think the difference is the moral fabric of the country, and also the moral fabric that has been used, well, the instruments that have been used to destroy the moral fabric of the inner city and our people. I mean, like, think about this. We now know the power of media when it comes to Gloria Steinem and let's say lesbian, the women's movement. We now know the power of social experimentation with people spraying in the air, the welfare Section 8 movement in this country. We know
Yeah,
that. We
yeah.
even know more now about how people have used their ethnicity and ethnic identity to gain advantages over
Mm.
certain people in our society,
Wow,
and use God and faith as the
wow,
vehicle to do it.
wow.
So when it comes to our people, our culture, our music, our identity, our God, our worship, our ability to exist, it all comes down to two things: social identity and love for self. I applaud you for loving yourself and the culture enough to give back to it. How do we? All right, let me put it this way: the best way to give a gift is with love and great packaging. The worst way to give a gift is out of frustration here, and the packaging is incorrect. How do you protect your package, your delivery, so you know that what you're giving packaged up is the right
Hmm.
thing to give and is representative to not only your message but to what the people need, not just so what they
Yeah,
want.
yeah. I pay attention, right? And so I look at every element of it. Okay, this is the kind of tracks y'all rocking to. Okay, so let me give you something current, something relevant, something that's not cheesy, no copycat. That's the other thing, right? A lot of Christian rappers are just your Christian version of some secular rapper.
They're trash, by the way, but I'll let you go.
Yeah, they try to sound like Drake, try to sound like Nas, try to sound like whoever, Young Thug, try to
Trash,
sound like Baby.
trash. I ain't
Garbage.
cut you off, but I'm just gonna say it's trash. I'll
It's
say it
cool.
for you. Go ahead.
I come from an era where if you was a copycat, you couldn't get the mic. You couldn't rock. You better sound original, right? And so I hold to those elements. Even though I was outside real early, I did my first actual major show, packed auditorium, at 10 years old, 1988. You see what I'm saying? So I've been doing this for a long time. My godfather is Tommy Jenkins from Cameo. I grew up around the funk. My father was a DJ, popular DJ, right? So I grew up around the music in those ways where I learned from watching him mix and listening to his mixes that it got to come off a certain way right from the beginning, because he had to make sure he didn't clear the dance floor, right? He had to make sure he kept the cookout, the wedding rocking, right? So I learned the importance of the track. I learned the importance of the quality of the music, the delivery, how having certain kind of diction, having clarity, having imagery. I've studied imagery. I used to read the thesaurus. You know what I mean? So it's all important. Even from psychology, I've read psychology books. Like, how do I really get this message across? Because it's important. You know what I mean? And so I take time with it, but it also comes natural because I believe I'm chosen, and it's not really hard. When people come to my sessions just to watch me create, and each time they're just mesmerized, like, how'd you do that fast? Now, even though it's a controversial time, it's something wild to speak on. I give Diddy credit for that because when I was writing for him, he was like, "Look, time is money. I need this verse, and I need this verse, and you got 20 minutes, and it got to be a hit." You see what I'm saying? So I learned to write fast and dope, and I learned to pick tracks fast. You know what I mean? And I don't give a track more than 3 seconds. If it don't catch me in 3 seconds, I can't expect it to catch you in that 3 seconds. So I don't use it. I don't use any track that has me thinking hard. If my first bar don't come to me as soon as the track drop, I leave the whole track alone and move to a different beat. You know what I mean? So it has to be packaged correctly. You know what I mean? For people to receive it, especially since positive content, Christian content has often been the lesser version, right? Less of a bar, less of a standard. You know what I mean? And so, no, I'm holding high standards of hip hop to what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Because I'm here to infiltrate. I'm not here to be some I'm defensive individual. I'm on the offense. We storming the gates of hell. You know what I mean? So I advise everybody to pray for me because I'm not on the defense. I'm bombing. And when the enemy bombs, I bomb back. That's how we moving. So we just doing it through the music. You know what I mean? Hands down. So that's where we at.
I appreciate that. He put the pocket in it first, the bomb. But I'll tell you this though, you know what hurts me about the Exodus 2013 movement and things like that is it gets lost when people have a mainstream component to try to compare you to.
Yeah.
And that's why I always get pissed off with how they've done our culture and how you have to find music. There's a Christian rapper by the name of Lecrae, right? I'm not using your time to talk about him. I'm just using this for a point.
Yeah.
Lecrae was on a program with another individual, and this man talked about the blessings of slavery. And Lecrae was just bobbing his head like this, like in agreement. And when confronted about it, he said he talked to the man in private, yet the man in public talked about we can't just throw away slavery in American history because of the blessings of slavery.
Wow.
See, these are the things that Christian rappers are held accountable for, and it's not even them that did it. Like, people got at Bizzle for going at Jay-Z, right? People got at Sho Baraka and called him the Nas of Christian hip hop, right? We had Cross Movement, who was the Wu-Tang. And when you do that, it's substandard to the new music because you're holding it up against something that's not going to compete with when it comes to money and exposure. And two, you're putting those people in a box where they're not going to stand up to that mainstream appeal. Yeah. My question for you is, how does how does Christian hip hop find its space when it's not marketed correctly, when it doesn't get the respect it deserves monetarily when it comes to getting put out? Because church runs don't mean shit to me personally, sir, because a lot of people are turned off by church because especially the church and the communities have failed the community so much that I don't even want to walk into the doors if they're not teaching or edifying and they're just praising, singing, and walking out feeling good without teaching about the world, the evil in the world at hand. How can we get the music in a way where it can be magnified, glorified to the point where it stands on its own and not be a subpar version of something to be recognized against?
Yeah. So first, let me address the fact that you have that problem where now, and probably always been a problem where good churches and good preaching and teaching is hard to find because some were sent and some just went. Right. So to find somebody with a real anointing is not easy, in and outside of music and hip hop and church culture and whatever else. Right. So my thing is this: we don't have outlets. It's just like Jersey hip hop. If Jersey had our own radio stations, it'd be a whole different look. There's a lot of Jersey artists that's dope that just will never get that light because they never cracked that New York radio market. Right. And so at the end of the day, it's the same thing with Christian hip hop. It doesn't have major radio stations, major media publications, right, to take it where it crosses over. and where it's promoted to the masses with millions behind it. And that's something I'm doing with the resurgence of Godify. We're going to partner with iHeartRadio, and we're going to turn it into the illest Christian and positive rap radio app ever. But with the type of money behind it that a Hot 97 has, that a Power 105 has, thank you, and things of that nature, right? And so it takes organization and understanding how things work. And I think that's what also makes me a special because, or in a special position, because I never hung with artists. That's why, like, I never been friends with these guys because I hung with the executives because the artists weren't living how I wanted to live, right? And so I hung with Don Poole, Mark Pitts, E. Nicks, Anton Marchand, right? All these cats hung around them. Listen, Glean, Steve Stout, Privilege, sat in the studio watching Quincy Jones score music, direct 100-piece orchestras, right? All that kind of stuff. I hung with the execs, and so I know how this works. Every connect they have, I have. It's all about the paper, and that's why I start the Exodus movement too. Because when people purchase the T-shirts, we're using that money to rival the marketing budgets of the negative music. If it costs Def Jam 200,000 to break an artist, well, guess what? Or break an album. I'm using 200,000 to break an album too. The radio guy you call, I'm calling. The TV guy you call, I'm calling. I know him too, right? All they do is outsource everything. It's not all in house. Every call they make, I can make. It's not a lot of people with my message who could do that. They don't have the connects and the contacts and the know. And they don't know who these people are. As big as a lot of people think they are in these church circles and et cetera, outside of it, people never heard of them. And with all respect, doing it might not matter to them, but it's true. So they don't even have the first step with crossing over, which is we are infiltrating. We're infiltrating. That's a dark world, that music industry. And I know how to infiltrate it, right? It's almost like Moses being raised in Egypt, coming out of it, and then being sent back to free the people and lead them out. That's kind of compared to what I'm doing. So, it's a lot about it that's just stand out and different. You know what I mean? But now it's time to put those real budgets together and spend that money in the correct way and kind of storm the charts. We talking Billboard charts. You know what I mean? Mainstream radio, playlists on the radio, major playlists on the, I don't care about being on a Christian rap playlist on Spotify. No. Put my song on the regular global hot 100. Period. You know what I mean? Don't pigeonhole me, box me in, none of that. I don't need no title. I don't need no certain genre title, nothing like that. You know what I mean? So that's how we moving.
I'm moving with you, yo. Salute the Nucci Reyo. Hey, we got S&T on. He says, where do we buy the T-shirts at? They want some T-shirts.
Yes, I am thekingskid.com. Please support. I am thekingskid.com.
See? Hey, man, look, unlike other folks, I don't mind you branding yourself on here. That's what it's all about. Either we work together or we don't work at all. So I call artists like you out too, because y'all go to all these major radio stations and things. I give you credit for doing my show, because a lot of people think they're too big to do a heritage hip hop or they're too big to do a podcast. So
I'm grassroots.
I support you 100%, and I will buy a shirt. I want this book, because if that's what it takes to give our culture balance and to put the fear of righteousness back into our people, I'm all for it, bro. I'll support you 100%.
Because think about it. Half of these artists, if they had $1 million, and some of them do, they still wouldn't know who to call. You know what I mean? I know who to call, and that's who I'm calling, and they ready to support me. They're tied up it too. You got to think. A lot of the people that make this world go round in hip-hop and media are older than me. You know what I'm saying? Like the DJs are 50, 60 years old. So they're tired of it too, and they want the real rap coming back. And so they're whispering like, yo, let's do it. But it's a real business. It takes a real budget, like any real business, right? It's not just going to happen. It's not just about praying, right? When you pray, God is going to give you direction. And I know he allowed me to be in that industry, getting that knowledge for a reason. And so it's time to use it and climb these charts with this message, thou shalt not kill. Straight up. So this Scared Straight record, I think, is going to shake the game up.
Shout out to my man from the Lifers group, also original, because those my peoples.
That's my man.
All of them. All
That's
of them.
my
Look,
man.
All of them. They may not all know me, but
Yeah.
I've interviewed some. And look, y'all got my love too. Period.
A
Let's
couple
get
of
back
them
on
from
track.
Broadway. Yeah, a couple of
Facts,
them from
facts.
Broadway. I grew up, hearing Ridge spit, and when I was young, and just respecting those cats because they was from around my way and they was doing their thing, even though they was in, a tough position, and they always showed me love. Like when Ridge got out, what I mean, he always showed me love. He ended up living on my block, and we got close, and you know what I mean. That's my man, and so. At the end of the day, when I called him to jump on the record, he said, "Say less." He sent the intro and the outro back in like 10 minutes. Because people respect what I'm doing. You know what I mean, and half of it is just always being a cool cat. You know what I mean, and not stacking up a bunch of enemies, but just kind of being. I'm not really political, but you cool, you cool. So that's the other thing. I mean, it takes a certain personality to do what I'm doing, and so it's just time.
But you know what? You are political. Cause check this out. Hip hop is the offshoot and extension of the civil rights movement and black nationalism. It is. Whatever anybody wants to say, it came from the Black Panther movement. It came from SCLC
Yeah.
and SNCC. It came from the
Yes.
Nation of Islam. It came from all of this. And now it just had music and beats behind it. And now, if you don't want to get political, I understand. Because now we're living in a world where even the freedom of speech is getting attacked. We now live in a world where there's tariffs, there's trade wars, there's everything's changing to the point where we even talk about war on American soil for the first time ever. Well, I ain't gonna say the first, but the first modern time, I'll say. We're getting to the point where music has always reflected the reality of the life people have lived. With hip hop changing, with the world changing, where is the honest space you think hip hop and music is going to come from with the new age of inflation, the new age of racism? I'm not saying it wasn't always here, but we have a new age of it. We have a new age of self-identity versus self-value versus social expectation. We have nurses killing babies because of their skin color again in high volume in the news. We have police brutality, police assault on men and women. And now, which is new in the world, we have the high volume Sigma alpha man versus the baby mama and the inner city woman.
Wow.
Where is this message going to come from hip hop? And how will hip hop be responsible and moral enough to stand up against those arguments to give people a way out when hell always finds a way in?
Well, I mean, we got to speak on it, right? That's what it is. It's just about speaking. But first of all that nonsense causes a divide, right? And it's divide and conquer. And it's, a bunch of guys who never got girls before, who hit the gym, never had a platform, get on the internet, start talking crazy about, how the women who they wanted at one time ended up. Fine, we get it. You were a nerd in high school. These women ended up, taking wrong paths, having a bunch of babies. But when they was hot, you wanted them. You couldn't get them. Now you hate them. And so a lot of it just speaks very weird. A lot of it comes off. I see the clips from a lot of cats where I'm like, let's just uplift. You know what I'm saying? Let's not divide. Now, facts are facts. You know what I mean? There's value systems in place. And so if you do things that causes you to lose value, that's just true. But that message could be delivered in a way that uplifts and doesn't divide. And so even the message I have, it needs to be delivered in a way, now, of course, like you said, truth is going to cause division, right? Because some people don't want to accept it, don't want to live by it. It causes accountability, responsibility, change, repentance. People don't love that. That's not a popular message. But we just got to speak on these things. Can't be scared to speak on it. That's just bottom line. And they avoid it, right? A lot of cats avoid these topics. But, a lot of cats, even as hot and rap, sell a bunch of records, couldn't even tell you who their local councilman is, right? They don't know who their governor is, right? They don't know who their mayor is, So at the end of the day, the education system has failed, and older cats have failed as far as telling cats what's important. I didn't know till I was an adult the role of a councilman, and how important your local elections are. That's what really changes things for you. And so it's about educating about those things and speaking on them in a way where it's not your whole message where you're boring people, but maybe a song or two on a project would be dope if you speak on these things. You know what I mean? Or use platforms like this to speak on those things. Really, once again, the music is bait, right? I'm using the music as bait to even speak on platforms like this and really get the message across. Sometimes the music doesn't do it, but it opens doors like this, right? And so, we just got to speak on those things.
Well, shout out to you for speaking. So now I want you to speak some more. I want you to sell your brand, sell your new music, and tell everybody where your stuff is. This is called Stand on Your Square. You now have the pedestal. You have about 30 seconds. Why don't you go ahead?
No doubt. I am thekingskid.com. I am Nucci Reyo everywhere. Tap into the freestyles, tap into the music, every streaming platform. Stay linked in. Facebook is the same thing. You're going to get music darn near daily from me. Like, we raining on them right now. I am thekingskid.com is where you buy the merch. That's where you support the movement so that we could move forward with major budgets to rival these major labels. The King's Kid Music Group is my label. We are fully funded. We are indie, but we are moving like a major. So move with us. It's not a movement if it's not moving. Exodus 2013, that's the movement.
Thou shalt not murder. So make sure y'all out here doing right by your life and right by others. But we have not gotten to the end of the platform yet. We've gotten to the end of the interview section. This is now the rapid fire questions. We do not ask yes, no questions. We ask this gentleman right here about not only his music, but his knowledge of the culture and the movement that he stands for. You ready to play this game with me?
Let's do it.
All right, so everybody out there in the comments, y'all could drop a question in the comments. I'll ask your question and mix it with my own. So it's been a while since you've been on the platform, so I'm going to go back to some of my old questions, and we're going to sprinkle in some new questions as well, all right?
Yes, let's do it.
So let's start from the beginning. What's the greatest rap beat ever made? Meaning if it wasn't the other person's song, would have been your first single.
I'm going to have to say The Message. I'm going to have to say The Message with a strong, and I'm going to say there's a strong tie. It's almost a four-way tie. They Reminisce Over You, Summertime Beat, Juicy Beat, and The Message.
So as y'all see, if y'all would have bought that album that he was on, you would have been bouncing and it would have been clean. It would not have been just murky, dirty, underground, bass heavy. You would have had something that can take you somewhere, something with a bounce to it. You know what I'm saying? Salute to your ear. What song or album from another artist perfectly describes you? Any genre of music.
From another artist, I would say Kanye West, Jesus Walks.
Okay. Keep it with the theme. I appreciate that. What are your top 5 positive songs from secular artists?
Once again,
all hip hop related.
I'm gonna have to say They Reminisce Over You. I'm gonna have to say Summertime. I'm gonna say The Message. I'm gonna say Biggie Smalls, The Sky Is the Limit. I'm gonna say Nas, either Black Girls Lost or I Know I Can.
All right, let's go. We have a question from Kiala Santa Cruz. She said, who's your favorite artist and why?
My favorite artist is Nas. For so many reasons. Just the lyricism is, impeccable. Not only did I get to grace the stage with him, but I would watch the show from the side of the stage and just be amazed at how a rapper with no dancers, right, no choreography, a DJ, and a mic could captivate an audience, right? And so it's Nas hands down. Besides gospel music, if I'm listening to full albums or rap, it's going to be Nas, with a close second with Tupac. And then right behind that is Naughty by Nature, because I think Everything Is Going to Be All Right, besides Hip Hop Parade, is the greatest rap song, most perfect rap song ever written.
Yo, shout out to Tret, shout out to Nas, shout out to Tupac. I want to ask you a question. Edutainment and street knowledge are two subgenres of hip hop that have been lost, yet that always have remained relevant whenever people taught hip hop in the classroom. Besides Nas, Ice Cube, KRS-One, Tupac, are there any artists that you believe have perfectly embodied that we can use to teach the importance of God, hip hop, and our nation when it comes to the classroom or musicology?
The first thing that comes to mind is like KRS-One, right? When it comes to teaching, He is the teacher. That's the only one I ever seen is really teaching and claiming to be a teacher. Like they all teach, right? Indirectly, but I would say KRS-One.
You have any besides him though? Like any new artists, anybody
Any
who
new
or
wise?
people that people don't know who have that
Yeah,
positive message in the music?
I would say Dayton. I would say there's an artist named Dayton that y'all may or may not know. He's from Jersey too. He's a Christian rapper and he's dope. And I think he has the replay value and all of the elements that you would appreciate. You could hear like that he was probably influenced by like Big Pun and Eminem, and yet it doesn't just stay in that lane where it's just a rapper's rapper. So I would say Dayton.
That's God over money, right? He with them.
He used to be. Now he has his own
Okay.
thing, which is the Menace movement. So yeah.
Okay, true. Our S&T asks, how do you come up with your metaphors?
Yo, I ain't gonna front, it just comes to me. I try to think of relevant things that are going on, that I think about what rhymes with those things, and then I kind of jot that note down, and then when I'm writing, I just see where to fit that in at. But it kind of just comes to me. When I hear the right beat, it just flows.
Shout out to creativity because that comes from the ether, and that's one of the things that if you know about the Most High or you're learning, ether is one of those spiritual gifts and qualities that they have taken away when they talk about the senses. We always talk about eyes, ears, mouth, touch, nose, and all that, but we never talk about the ether, the spirit. You know what I'm saying? So salute to you for having a spirit that's tapped into wordplay that heals souls, not just makes rhythms for people to dance to. You feel me? Let's go to the next question. The next question I had, the next question I have for you is this. Music is an essential remedy to healing the body and the soul. When
Yes.
people have Alzheimer's, if you play a person with Alzheimer's music, the brain heals itself. How important is it for you to heal? How important is healing to you when you hit that studio or you pick up that pen and pad and you start to talk to the ether and it talks to you?
Well, that's another chapter in my book, The Music Factor, which is dropping in September. Literally, I have those studies in there and those doctors listed with that Alzheimer's study and everything of that nature. The chords vibrate the body in a certain way and cause healing. There are worship chords versus dark chords and etc. So that's why I pick my tracks in a certain way, right? And so it's very important. First of all, I've been healed. Mind and body and soul, spirit, all of it, and it's real, and it's not fabricated at all. So it's very important. It has those qualities, and that's what I need and want my music to do. And it's been therapy for me, right? Being able to speak to the mic has stopped me from needing a therapist. That is my therapist. It stopped me. I don't explode on people because I explode on the mic. I've always had somebody to talk to, and that's that AKG. That Neumann
Shout out to you.
U87.
Shout out to you. Hey man, look, that was deep. Because hip hop has been the mental health component that has saved many black men from dying or destroying their own lives.
100%.
So salute to you. Salute. We got a question from HGM TV. Shout out to my HGM family, Bori and all y'all. What's going on?
Shout out.
It says, do you ever consider mentoring any artists?
Yes, I do mentor artists. I mentor artists. One is my cousin. His name is Flow for Thought. I mentor him. A new artist that I just came in contact with. His name is Stacks. I'm mentoring him. A lot of cats have reached out to me. Preston, Jay. It's a lot of cats I stay tapped in with. And stay tapped in with me. And it's iron sharpens iron.
Shout out to Flow for Thought. I met him through the Goodfellas, I believe, and he's also right here on the chat. Flow for Thought, what's going on? We waiting for you to come back over here on this side of life. Don't worry, we don't bite. We just ask good ass questions.
You bite. Be careful, Flo. Be ready. Be ready before you come on here. Please believe it.
Flow for Thought, my man. He had a nice song I like back in the day too. I like his. He's a conversationalist with rhythm.
Yeah, he got it.
I like that a lot. You know what I'm saying? Let's go on with a couple more questions before we end out. I want to ask you a simple question that's very thought provoking. The 90s era of hip hop made hip hop and saved hip hop at the same time. Why is it the most important era to you, and how so?
90s is the most important era, not only because that's the era I came out in. Um, it's the era that created the balance and showed every kind of flavor. Right? You had Tribe Called Quest, you had NWA, you had Public Enemy, you know, you had Cool G Rap, you had MC Brains, you had DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, you had MC Hammer selling 5 million records. You had every element in there, right? So 90s, it introduced us to the South. Um, it's the most important era. And I came out in 99, and you know, you had to be of a certain caliber to survive that 90s era if you was gonna be in that booth. So the 90s era of hip hop to me is the best era of hip hop still, and that's just how it is.
You know what's funny about what you saying that you and Vertical Jones represent a certain era of New Jersey hip hop that's not
Yeah.
talked about enough.
And we got records that we ain't dropped too, but go ahead.
How much of disservice do we do New Jersey when we focus on 30 years ago and not even the people who have come after? And how does that cheapen the story of New Jersey to your enemy, in your opinion?
Well, they got to grind. Bottom line, we all get it out the mud, and you got to do what you got to do to get the recognition. You know, of course, in a positive way. So, I don't know that it's our responsibility to give handouts. Yes, we want to pull people up. We want to shine a light on them when they're dope. But I really think what happened with Jersey hip hop is that the battle rappers been holding it down. You know what I mean? Arsenal and Sue Surf and New Jersey Twerk and cats like that, they've been holding it down. You know, if I missed any names, you know, blame it on the head, not the heart. But at the end of the day, they've been holding it down. And so I think that is the new era of Jersey hip hop. And then, you know, the younger kids is coming with the Jersey Club and, you know, the Jersey Drill and stuff. So we're in a different era. You know, there's so many outlets, so it's not all channeled into one. So it doesn't make stars in the same way. But, you know, that's how I feel about it.
All right, man, give me a drop. How'd you like being on Heritage Hip Hop, or would you recommend that to any other artists in the game?
Listen, Heritage Hip Hop is where you come. It's going to be thought provoking. It's going to challenge you. You can't be one dimensional. You got to really know what you're standing on, what you represent. But it's a necessary stop on your promotional run. So I encourage all artists to tap in with Heritage Hip Hop. I do it every time because it's necessary. And I'm inspired every time, and I actually got some song ideas. So I thank you for the inspiration and you know, for the sharpening every time.
Hell yeah, I want a song about Nucci Reyo on Heritage Hip Hop.
Let's do it.
Hey, let me tell you something. I've been asking people I've been trying to put together a mixtape for the longest time, and I've even bought beats, and some of these folks don't even show up. So if you do it, not only do you have my ultimate respect, 'cause I already gonna support you, just next level, you know what I'm saying? And I really
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate that. Hey, check this out. We got another question from Kialis Santa Cruz. What advice could a mother or father give to their sons who role models are into secular music?
You know what? I think instead of the advice, introduce them to comparable positive music. You got their ear when you in the car. You got their ear when you in the crib. I introduce my kids to Rakim. I introduce my kids to Biz Markie. You know what I mean? To Naughty by Nature. You got to do it. You know what I mean? And when you do that, it will wake them up because it's so much better. You know what I mean? It's so much better. It's so much doper. And then now it's music they can blast without causing a conflict in the household, and they'll enjoy that unity and that, you know, that family vibe. So that's what I would do. I would introduce it to them.
I agree with you. I'll answer that question too, even though it wasn't asked to me. My grandson, shout out to my boy Sadi. I love my boy, right? He his favorite song is Tribe Called Quest, Can I Kick It?
Wow.
Now, at this age, think about it, y'all. He does listen to all the other music with his mom and in her car and everything. But when the Ninja Turtle movie came out and he heard Tribe Called Quest, I played him the Tribe Called Quest album. One of the safest albums you could play to teach music to these children.
Yes.
Teach your children about it's like in school. We always talk about Martin Luther King. Well, they don't even talk about that anymore, really. But you got Martin Luther King. You have Rosa Parks. But you have to introduce your children to Fannie Lou Hamer, Marcus Garvey, Medgar Evers. You have to introduce your children to more so they have an appreciation for themselves, also for what's out there. So if they like secular music, that's cool. Just give them the best and good music so then it'll pique their ear to want to go find it themselves.
Yeah, most of them are into the beat, right? It's all about the beat for them. So find records that have that beat, but have a better message, and they'll be with it because it's all about the beat to them. That's the era we in. We in an era where it's all about the beat. Bottom line.
Especially if you're from Jersey, because New York loves hip hop. Jersey likes hip hop. Jersey's a dancing state. You got something with a beat where we could dance, and they got good lyrics. We in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so my Scared Straight record is a Jersey Club record that I'm about to drop.
I want it. I need that record.
I'm gonna send it to you as soon as we get off.
Are you breaking it with the Fleet DJs?
Yes, sir.
Because I'm a New Jersey Fleet DJ. Let's get it on there.
Yes, sir.
One more thing you said. I want to go back to what you said. Before I ask my last question. New Jersey has its own radio stations. We have Tom the Grind Radio, salute the Big Sev, right?
Yes.
But we also have 8 Squad Rebel Radio. You go to 8 Squad?
I heard of it.
Okay, so then part of what needs to be done on their part is always marketing. We have to know they exist.
Yeah.
But the artists and the media have to work hand in hand. So we could build this foundation and this fortress to protect our sound. What is the artist's responsibility to the media, and what is the media's responsibility to the artists in your opinion?
It's about tapping in with each other. Reach out and be receptive. That's it. Bottom line. You know, when I started breaking on Hot 97 and going up there freestyling live and being on K Slay show, Absolute, and all this different stuff, right? There was a time where it wasn't a DJ on Hot 97 that didn't play my music, including Flex. It didn't stop me from going to Rutgers Radio, Montclair Radio, Dell State Radio. You know what I mean? You got to stay grassroots. You got to stay connected in that way. You got to reach out and touch the people. You know what I mean? And so you got to reach out to each other.
Okay, so with that being said, we're going to come to the last question of this interview. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to heritagehiphop.com. Follow us, get some merch. I got Goodfellas merch on today. Shout out to Tommy Guns and my
Shout
Goodfellas
out to Tommy
TV
Guns,
family.
man. Good guy.
I mean, yeah. And we got Heritage Hip Hop merch on there too. So make sure y'all support CB's music. What's going on, Queen? Shout out to the Temple of Hip Hop, the New Jersey Fleet DJs, and of course our guest, Nucci Reyo. So here's our last question. I always ask about legacy because legacy is very important to me. And when we go into the Hip Hop Hall of Fame 500 years from now and they play your music, somebody's going to hit a red button on the wall and your hologram's going to come out. And we're going to hear about Nucci Reyo, the Exodus 2013 movement, as well as his other movements and good music. What is the legacy you leave behind that made the world better because you made hip hop?
Yeah, it's the dopest music that glorifies God, bottom line. That's it. It's got to be the dopest, hands down, the most lyrical, the most playback value, and it glorifies God. It points you to him every time.
Hey, y'all, with that being said, we thank y'all for listening to the Heritage Hip Hop Podcast tonight. If you watch this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is also available on Spotify, Apple Music. This is available on iHeartRadio and anywhere you stream your podcast platforms. And if I'm not there, let me know because I need to be there because wherever you take your phone, Heritage Hip Hop is with you. This is Karev at Heritage Hip Hop with Nucci Reyo. Any last words, bro?
I am the kingskid.com. Support the movement.
And I'm one of them cool kids because I know the King's Kid. Check that out, y'all. With that being said, we out of here. Peace, and we out.
Real